Okay, so I was asked about this on Twitter, and I thought it would be easier to just throw together a quick tutorial video rather than to throw out a bunch of tweets. But let's talk first about why this is important to validate ideas before you build them, because you probably already have some idea in your head, but I want to reemphasize the importance of this. So essentially, you don't want to waste your time building something no one wants. And it's so easy to do that. It's so easy to do that. When you're building something, you often get stuck kind of in the box, and it becomes hard to, especially when you're, the one person building it, when you're that one bootstrapper building it, you get stuck in that box. And sometimes it's hard to step outside of it and make sure you're going the right path that you should. Now, it's even more important to validate when you're bootstrapping, right? Large companies, they can take gambles. It's still not advised. I would recommend that they even take an approach to validate ideas before they build them, and many of them do. But they have a lot more resources. They can take gambles if they want to. And so that's why it's so important to kind of validate these ideas, especially when bootstrapping before you build them. Because relatedly, what you're validating here is you want to, I validate the idea that people will pay for this or exchange something of value for it, but you also want to validate that you can find them, right? And that's an important concept because in many cases, it may be a very valid idea, and people may be willing to pay for it, but if you can't source them, if you can't find them, then it's just the same as if it wasn't validated at all, right? That's what you're validating here. Not only the fact that somebody in the world will pay for it, but also that you can find them. You're validating your customer acquisition channel. And I really overall love this approach of validating your customer acquisition channel before you start to build the product. If you're not familiar with me, I'm off of it. My whole thing was I spent the past 10 years, building products basically that no one wanted. And I actually slowly became a product manager on my own before getting into that in the corporate space. But essentially what I had to do was learn to validate ideas before I built them. And that's exactly, why I built getvalidation.co. The idea, or I started building it. The idea of this was that it was to be a platform to validate ideas. Now, of course, I knew that I couldn't simply build it if it was a platform for validating ideas, right? People would be like, hey, you didn't validate this before you built it. So I used a platform to actually validate it. And you can use that same exact platform, Gumroad, to validate your own product and feature ideas before you invest a lot of time in building them. So I'm not going to do a whole tutorial here on Gumroad. Basically what I did, the first thing you have to do is actually throw up a landing page, right? And then you'll need to get traffic to that landing page. And that's way beyond the scope of this tutorial, getting traffic to it and building the landing page. For this one, I actually used WordPress because I have a lot of experience with it, and it's very easy to get WordPress to be incredibly fast with caching. But anyway, it doesn't matter what you use. But basically, you need to throw up a landing page, you need to kind of pitch your idea on the landing page, and then you need to have a button. And on that button, the one I used here, what I like to do is actually create a kind of progress bar, right? When I was launching this originally, every time I got a new sale, I think I did like 1 out of 5 customers. I did 0 out of 5 customers needed before getvalidation.co launches an MVP. And then as I got the sales, I kept moving the progress bar. I think I got 16 sales in the end. Let's actually click on this button, this call to action. Yeah, so I got 16 sales for this at $5 a sale, if I remember correctly. And so I felt the idea was fully validated. Now, you may be wondering at this point, how many do I suggest? Well, I did some research on this at one time, and I can't remember exactly where I got that from, but the number that I recommend is 5. Getting 5 people to pay for it seems like a great number. And I used to actually have some research to back this up, but I don't have access to it today. But that's what I recommend here. I'm not going to go into a whole tutorial on using Gumroad to do this. It's really, really simple to use. In fact, it's interesting. Their tagline actually is sell what you know. and see what sticks. And that's kind of what we're talking about in many ways here. But it's super simple to use. You just go in there, you create a digital product, you can accept payments for it. Do I have any other tips? I don't think I have any other tips. It's super simple to use. Now, of course, I do want to mention this is not perfect, right? What you're essentially trying to do is you're trying to establish a value exchange of some kind to validate the idea that it's important to these people and that they'll pay for it. Now, getting them to actually pay for it is the strongest way to do that, right? That's super strong validation, but it's also not the only way to do it. And so this is not a perfect approach using Gumroad. There's other ways to get people to exchange value, right? You can get them to agree to continue meeting with you, which is exchanging their time, something incredibly valuable. So you can use that approach. And there's other approaches as well that can be used, softer types of validation. And that whole doing that and providing more functionality was exactly what getvalidation.co was going to be for. And I will finish it eventually. So keep posted, and I'll keep talking about it. Eventually we will get that built. We actually got so far as, we created the GitHub repo for it. It was actually running locally, built all the models for it and everything, the database models. And it's just sitting there waiting, but got distracted with a more urgent product that people were already paying for. I will complete this eventually. But anyway, that's it for this tutorial. I've made this way too long. I'm not going to do a lot of editing here at all. So sorry for that. But if you have any questions at all, feel free to put them in the comments on whatever platform you're kind of viewing this on. And feel free to reach out if you have any questions about, validating product ideas before you build them, or if you think you have an approach to validating an idea that I haven't considered, shoot it on over to me. It could be interesting to hear about it. Thanks.